Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs and the Ruben Studders. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers, and Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers, and Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, 'cause I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, 'cause I know it's right in front of us. Yo, I ain't with the hate, gotta focus on what's great. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Hardy is on the air. Had to drop a couple bars just to make you all aware. So, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. You know I go by Joe or the rest of the flow, yeah. We know how to go, hey, yeah. That's the flow, yeah.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to a new episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. Of course, happy Monday. Happy Cinco de Mayo for those who celebrate. And I hope if you are celebrating that holiday, that you actually respect the people who created that holiday. Okay? Good. So, happy Monday. And I know, of course, we just finished watching Monday Night Raw. We are on the precipice of backlash this weekend, which is crazy considering it feels like we just got through at WrestleMania. But either way, I'm so happy to be before you on this night. I know this is the first episode I've done really of the show HWP proper since I've returned from Las Vegas. And I feel like that episode and that experience will come at a later date because there is still so much processing of that trip and that opportunity that I feel like just deserves its own episode. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you guys so much for all of your love and your support and just all of the joy and the happiness that you've given me over the past couple of weeks because it's been much needed. Because of not only just the opportunity itself, but then also moving through life as it's changing with different opportunities and also with its losses. And I will get to that later on in the episode as well. But I am doing okay. I am trying my best, and that's all you can do. But in the midst of all of this, wrestling is still popping off in a big way. And I am so happy to be here on this lovely platform to talk about it. And of course, if this is your first time watching me or listening to me, thank you for considering me to be in your ears. And I hope I continue to be in your ears. And of course, if this isn't your first time listening, thank you for continuing on this journey with me and supporting me and thinking that I'm good enough to tell you about what's going on in wrestling and just, continuing on this crazy journey of this crazy thing that we love. So, I'm going to start with news and gossipish. And of course, this is where we get into the nitty gritty of different rumors and news that has gone viral over the past couple of days or even in the past few hours because a lot has happened. But, we're just going to get into it and be completely honest about our feelings. And if you are in the comments, please let me know, say hi, or share your opinions about certain things, and they might wind up on the screen because I do love hearing from the people. So, yeah. So, the first thing to are these releases. So Friday, while I was recording my show with Katrina for Wow Superheroes, and even before that, there were there was news breaking about WWE's releases that are notorious for happening after WrestleMania, but a lot of people maybe felt like maybe it wasn't going to happen, but then out of nowhere towards the afternoon into the evening hours, more news about WWE's releases came out online from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who does an excellent job of getting news like that out to the people. a lot of women were announced in terms of those releases, many of them being a lot of people's favorites, including my own. First of all, we have to talk about Dakota Kai. That was one of the most gut wrenching releases I've ever heard of, considering she's been released from the company once before. And now she's released again. And when she came back to the company, she was a part of Bailey's damage control faction that she helped create with Io Sky. And she went on, of course, to have a rivalry of sorts with Bailey through Io Sky with damage control as they turned against her. Then, on top of that, she wound up having probably one of the best matches we've seen for the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Lyra Valkyria as damage control turned over a new leaf. Since the absences of Asuka and Kairi Sane. So to see her get released was really heartbreaking. I was just like, oh my God, like, dang, that sucks because Dakota is so talented and she's been amazing for a long time. So to see her get the boot was just like, oh my God, are you for real? Then another big shocker was Braun Strowman because he had just been in this really amazing program with Jacob Fatu that wasn't fully centered around the United States Championship, but at the same time, that title was in the midst of their rivalry. But they had a very fierce feud because you have these two powerhouses just taking each other down, seeking to destroy one another. And then, of course, you think of his history with the Wyatt family and being a part of that faction as well. And just not thinking that anything would happen to him in that regard, but now he's no longer with the company, and it's just, it really bummed me out to a degree. And then another one that definitely bummed me out, like on some tag team stuff, was Team Casey Squared. That was my nickname for them, for Caden Carter and Katana Chance. They're like they were one of the best, if not the best women's tag team on the entire roster. And they were like when they got their NXT women's tag team titles, it was so well earned because they were such a great tag team that just complemented each other's styles very well. So to see them make it to the main roster, hold the tag team titles for the little bit that they did, only to lose them and not ever have another run at them again, which is really, really sad for me because they were just so, so good. Like if you've watched any of their matches, whether it be in NXT or even on the main roster, it is so they never really had a bad match. And it's so crazy because I had just seen them fight in Vegas at a dark match at the SmackDown before WrestleMania. So it was just really surreal to see them get let go in this way, but geez, it was really crazy. And then you have Shayna Baszler, which can be argued is one of the greatest missed opportunities that WWE has ever had because Miss Ma'am was one of the first two-time NXT Women's Champions. Like there was a time where she was the unbeatable pillar of the women's division of NXT. This is after the Four Horsewomen and stuff. And so she gets called up. They made her look like a monster against Becky Lynch, only for her to lose to her at the WrestleMania during COVID. And I feel like since then, they never really recovered her from that. They never really rebuilt her mystique from that after that point. And they stuck her with tag teams. And even if she did have a singles run that made her seem like she was really cool, like the last coolest thing she did as a single star was when she had her match against Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam a few years ago. And that match was absolutely stellar and it made her look like a badass, but nothing was built off of that. And then she got put in PFC, and that was okay for what it was, but it wasn't anything major, major. And it was just like, God dang. For somebody like Shayna Baszler, who started off so on fire as an MMA wrestling mix of a girl, it just didn't, it never fully clicked anymore after her losing to Becky Lynch after that point. And that just made me feel so sorry for her. But um I will say more as I keep going, but it just really made me so sad um to see these to see a lot of these women get let go the way that they were. And then, of course, you have more women, more talented women, who were my faves. Two of them being Gigi Dolan, and Jakara Jackson, and then another one being Cora Jade. This really took me by surprise because if you had watched NXT, Gigi and Tatum Paxley had just had a killer of a tag team match for the women's tag team titles against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. So for Gigi to be let go, um, was just a huge shocker and a huge surprise because she had even gone back and forth and crossed the forbidden door into TNA and fought in tag team action too. So it's just kind of like, what the heck is going on here? Why was she let go when she was such a staple in tag team wrestling for so long when it came to NXT and Toxic Attraction and even Chemical X? Like, why was that not pursued further? And then another thing that caught me all the way off guard and saddened me deeply was Jakara Jackson being let go, because it could be argued that her and Lash Legend put forth really great work between NXT and TNA and even the main roster over the past couple of months. And a lot of the fandom were really pushing and gunning for Lash and Jakara to be either Knockouts tag team champions or women's tag team champions, especially with their match against Bianca and Naomi. Like, them passing the torch to another black female tag team would have been absolutely amazing for the both of them as a team. But Jakara now is no longer with the company, and it adds an extra sadness to us seeing Metaphor being broken apart. Like, that was heartbreaking to hear about because she had improved so much. She had gotten so good. So for them to just let her go in that way just really bummed me out. And then you have Cora Jade, who started off, in 2.0 as the skater girl, and then she turned her personality around into a mean girl, and she kept being enthralling on television. And then you have all the stuff that she was doing with Roxanne because they were friends and stuff once she had turned heel, and all of that just ended, and now Roxanne is running around with Julia, but you can't help but feel that it was supposed to be Roxanne and Cora again. So this was all around very shocking and very saddening to see. I really hated it because all of these women are just so talented. And then you had Eddie Thorpe get let go as well. And it's so funny because him I feel like his character, for all intents and purposes, should not have been a heel at all, because this is a Native American man standing up for good representation for his people. And the last big moment he had on NXT was when he roasted Lexis King, calling him a greedy white man. That's not a heel stance. That is not a heel stance by any means. So, and then you had a lot of good moments that he had and a lot of great matches that he had had from 2.0 all the way down to here. So, him getting let go, along with him and Dakota Kai also being a couple as well, them being let go at the same time was just kind of like painful. Like, how could you do that when they're a couple? Like, whoa, that's really kind of messed up on a very personal level. Even though I know a lot of people say it's not personal, it's just business, that felt really weird to me. So I hated seeing that. And then you have Big Body Javier Bernal, who is the husband of Tatum Paxley, getting let go. And I know for a while he was hurt and we didn't see him unless he popped up like on NXT Level Up a couple of times. But he had a lot of promise in the early going, and I hated that he got let go. And I definitely hated that Oro Mensah got let go, because the first time I had seen him, it was in NXT UK, and he was in a tag team in which he had won the NXT UK tag team titles, making them the first black tag team to do so. And I can't remember the other man's name right now, so please forgive me. Charge it to my head, not to my heart. But I loved watching them in action, and I loved seeing Oral Mensah represent Ghana the way that he did, because Ghana is a country that's near and dear to my heart. I've actually visited there, and studied abroad for a whole month there in 2014. So seeing him rep that just, filled my soul with a little bit of joy. And I always sort of fantasy booked him versus Kofi Kingston as sort of like a battle of the Ghanaian warriors. So in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I hope he makes it to the main roster so him and Kofi can have a moment." But sadly, it doesn't seem like that's in the cards right now because he's been let go. And now Metaphor only has two original members left. It's Noam Dar, who is the Heritage Cup champion, and then you have Lash Legend that's still there. So it really was a kick in the pants. You hate to see or hear about anybody losing their job. But at the same time, wrestling is so big and just so wide and so vast that you're going to see these people pop up elsewhere and do amazing things. And that's the most important thing. We have to continue to support these people and love on these people as they make their journeys elsewhere, regardless to what company they choose, whether it be TNA or AEW or any other favorite, company or whatever. We still have to continue to support them and love on them and um embrace their evolution as it continues to happen. So big ups and love and light to everyone who was caught up in that release batch. And I really hope there isn't any more this year, honestly. But even if there is, just know that there is love and support on the other side, and there are other great opportunities on the other side too. Malcolm, I'm trying to press it, is in the chat and I can't press it. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm sorry. But Malcolm, I did see your comment and I appreciate it. So yeah, it's just really a sad time, but at the same time, there's still so much more that can happen for these amazingly gifted people. So moving forward, oh, also Danny Palmer was released and she was also on Evolve. So I'm sending love and light to her. And also Shotzi, her contract was not renewed. And she had actually posted a video before the news got out that her contract wasn't being renewed, where she was talking about what the next step is and how she had gone through so much and how a lot of the things she had gone through had taken away her courage and her being a ballsy badass, but how she was looking to get that back. So her passion for the business is still very much there, and she was one of my favorite people to watch during her time in NXT and on the main roster. And I will always appreciate that moment that she had with Charlotte Flair when she had first cut her hair and Charlotte had told her how beautiful she was. Like that was something that will always stick with me. A great moment that they both had leading into War Games that I'll always love. So big ups to all of these amazingly talented people, and I can't wait to see how they land on their feet. It's gonna be great. I know it. I already know that it is. So yeah. And big ups to Gallus. And big ups to Riley Osborne as well, who got caught up in that too. So sending love and light to all of these people. So moving into more happier news, I guess you could say. CM Punk is getting in his acting bag again. He is going to be in a sci-fi series that's centered on um the undead, basically on zombies. This has been released by Stadium Rant that basically he's going to be back on screen. He's officially into well, he's been into the horror genre before, but he's entered the horror genre with a TV show with a mysterious new role in sci-fi's upcoming undead drama Revival. And of course, fans spotted him in the newly released trailer, clocking in at the 1 minute and 12-second mark, where he is holding a cold can of Pepsi, which makes all the sense in the world because he has the Pepsi symbol tattooed on his arm. So, of course, Revival is also in the synopsis is described as on one miraculous day in rural Wisconsin, the recently deceased suddenly rise from their graves. But this is no zombie story as the revived appear and act like they once were. When local officer and single mother Dana Cypress is unexpectedly thrown into the center of a brutal murder mystery of her own, she's left to make sense of the chaos amidst a town gripped by fear and confusion where everyone, alive or undead, is a suspect. So this seems pretty crazy. If you're into a lot of horror stuff, I feel like this is probably your jam. I'm probably gonna give it like a little bit of a look just because it's CM Punk, even though I'm not really a horror person. I'll definitely give it a try because CM Punk is a good actor. I feel like it's very underrated because CM Punk is just such a critically lauded name in wrestling. He's such a big personality in wrestling that a lot of people don't really give his acting a whole lot of credit, but when he does act and gets deep into his acting bag, he is really good. So I can't wait to see what he has to offer in this TV show. It's going to be really cool. He seems to drift a lot when it comes to acting roles when it comes to darker stuff with darker tones like this in horror. So or just more drama stuff because he also has been in Mayans MC, which was the spinoff of Sons of Anarchy. So I can't wait to see what this is going to unfold with. So it's going to be cool. Also, speaking of people getting in their acting bag, you have Liv Morgan um, filming a movie. So, of course, if you saw the episode of Raw last week, you saw the scene where she was talking to Adam Pierce, the general manager. Well, not Adam Pierce, I'm sorry. Nick Aldis, who was filling in for Adam Pierce, and asked him for some time off because she's supposed to be going to film a movie. And Dominic tried to get the time off so he could spend time with her, but they told him like you're not going to do that because you're a champion and all this other stuff, which is interesting considering Liv is also a champion, but we'll get into that later. um Liv Morgan is going to be in a new film from Neon Studios called Bad Lieutenant Tokyo. And it's the third in the Bad Lieutenant series of films following 1992's Bad Lieutenant and 2009's Bad Lieutenant Port of Call, New Orleans, but they don't share any cast or characters other than each film centering on less than virtuous police lieutenants. She is supposed to be playing a politician's kidnapped daughter in the film. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see, considering I feel like the only time we've seen her sort of like in a movie or like in a series was when she did Chucky. So I can't wait to see how she's going to be in a film. I think that's going to be really cool for her. And I just love seeing more and more wrestlers get into their acting bags because once upon a time, it sounded like it was really difficult for people to do that. So I'm glad that they're letting people spread their wings in other avenues, with movies being one of them. So big ups to Liv for that. And in speaking more of wrestlers in movies, we have The Rock, who is starring in a new drama called The Smashing Machine, which is directed by Benny Safdie, and it's centered on the life of UFC fighter Mark Kerr. And a lot of people were very disturbed by the trailer that got released last week because The Rock didn't look like himself. Now, of course, if you've been watching The Rock's movies throughout his entire Hollywood career, a lot of the movies he's always been in, he's been able to be the role, of course, but it's him. And it being him was a part of the appeal. You seeing his face, his body attached to a movie in this like an action movie or comedy or whatever it is he was in, you knew it was him, right? But in this movie, it seems like he really has transformed himself into the person that he's playing, Mark Kerr. And he's also playing in a movie with Emily Blunt, who he's been in a couple movies beforehand. So it seems like they have a really good working relationship. And this is an A24 film. So it looks like The Rock really is engrossing himself in this role. And I feel like those are the type of movies that I like the most, is when the person becomes so unrecognizable that you don't know them as the celebrity, you know them as this role. So I hope that, The Rock is popping off with it and it's going to be a good role. Also, his birthday was last week. So happy birthday to him, Big Taurus. Um, so yeah. Also, I'm also just still left wondering, when does this man sleep? When does he sleep? Movies, the UFL, board of directors, all the things, sir. Lay down. But yeah, this looks like a really great film. I can't wait to dive in to it and just to see what the story is, because of course Mark Kerr also fed into the beginnings of what we know now as the UFC. So I just can't wait to see what how Mark Kerr actually feeds into that. So it's going to be interesting. So yeah. Moving forward, we also have the amazing news that Big E, who was once upon a time one third of the New Day until they decided to get buck and act evil towards him, got engaged today. He got engaged today to Chris Yim, who is, of course, the sister of Meechin Mia Yim. They have been a couple for close to 2 years now, and he seems very serious about her. He wrote about her in that op ed in the Players Tribune where he was talking about, his career and how everything happened with the New Day and how he fell in love with her. So now they are officially engaged, and he posted on IG saying that he could not wait to be her husband. And then they had a special dinner with the menus, sort of like with pictures behind of themselves behind it, and it was just really cute. And I'm just so happy for them because they seem like such a lovely, lovely couple. They look so happy every time they're together. I cannot wait for those wedding pictures. That is, if they even show them to us. They don't have to show them to us, of course. That's their moment of love, of privacy. But of course, if they do, I can't wait to see that because they're just such a beautiful couple. And I'm just so happy that Biggie has found love in this way and that Chris has found love in this way. Also, from a very nerdy wrestling perspective, Big E and Keith Lee are gonna be brothers-in-laws. That would be an amazing tag team, and I'm hoping that Keith Lee is doing okay. Um, but yeah, like Big E and Keith Lee would be an amazing tag team. So big ups to them for getting engaged. I'm so, 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 so happy for them. Super, super, super happy. And that ring is fabulous, honey. Flash it everywhere. I know I'd be doing it. So yeah. Also, we have the announcement of WWE Takeover in Perth, culminating with Crown Jewel happening in Perth in October. On Saturday, October the 11th, they made the announcement last week that Crown Jewel won't be happening in Saudi Arabia this time, but that it will be happening in Australia. And with this press run, they've sent Grayson Waller and, of course, Rhea Ripley out there to do the press run because they are both Australians. And they were promoting the show, promoting what they do, and talking about their wrestling journeys and their lives in Australia. So, of course, we have the SmackDown that's happening on Friday, October the 10th. You have the Crown Jewel event, which is happening that Saturday. And then you have the Raw that's happening on October the 13th after Crown Jewel. And big ups to the people of Perth. I like it when they do international shows with the crowds and everything because they're so lively and fun. Um, I think it's going to be cool. And then I know that they're going to scream their heads off for Rhea because that's just what they do. So I'm just really excited about that. So big ups to Perth, big ups to Australia. Maybe one day I'll visit there, but we got to get our bands up first. So yeah. Then, of course, we also have a little bit of news in terms of the 2025 WWE draft. Normally, the draft would happen right after WrestleMania, like it did last year, but it has not happened yet because we are on the precipice of Backlash and there hasn't really been an announcement of a draft. They've been announcing all their other shows that's coming up, like with Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, but a draft has not been announced. So, on the latest episode of WrestleVotes Radio, the host addressed speculation around the draft, saying, yeah, I do believe so. The report stated, I don't think you've heard a date. I haven't heard a date. And of course, the uncertainty is largely due to WWE's upcoming event schedule, um, which makes it difficult to find a suitable window to hold the multi night draft traditionally split across Raw and SmackDown. So, WrestleVotes also noted that the calendar gets a little tricky here. Quote, you're going to get Backlash next week. You're going to get Saturday night's main event 2 weeks after that. And then you're going to get Money in the Bank 2 weeks after that. And then 3 weeks after that, you get the Saudi Arabia show. And then, of course, you have the rumor of Evolution, but we don't know about that yet. And of course, people are feeling some type of way with the releases and stuff like, how are we going to have an Evolution too? But I don't know. And then, of course, you have SummerSlam. So there really isn't that much room to breathe within all of those WWE events for there to be a draft. But hey, whenever they decide to have it, we're going to be here. We're going to look at it. We're going to figure it out. So, yeah, that's just a speculation on the home front when it comes to the draft. I enjoy the draft. It makes it feel very sportsy. I know this year was probably the first time I ever fully paid attention to the goings on of the NFL draft and how much drama can be entailed with that. So the WWE draft always causes a lot of conversation. So I usually enjoy those between Raw and SmackDown and NXT. So I guess we'll just have to wait. And even if they don't have it, I mean, hey, we'll move on. It's okay. So yeah. And last but certainly not least, in news and gossipish, we have AEW at the 2300 Arena. So, of course, for those who do not necessarily know the 2300 Arena and its significance in wrestling, this was where ECW was held a lot of the time in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's a historic landmark. NXT even recently had an event on Election Day last year at the 2300 Arena. But AEW now is going to have a residency there between August the 27th and September the 11th with episodes of Dynamite, Collision, um, Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor will be there, and like I said, the Dynamites and the Collisions. This is all happening the week before and the week after my birthday, so that's really interesting. And then you have WWE having Clash in Paris the week of my birthday too. Will I be going? No, but either way, all this wrestling is happening during that time. So of course, if you are in the Philadelphia area, go check them out because I'm more than sure experiencing wrestling in that type of atmosphere is a bucket list accomplishment for a lot of wrestling fans. So go and please check out AEW's 2300 residency because I imagine it's going to be pretty enjoyable. And they put on great shows, so it's going to be cool. So that's all for news and gossip ish. And now we're going to move into what I liked in wrestling this week. Now, I know, of course, this is from a lot of it is from last week, but a lot of it feeds into what we saw tonight. But either way, you get the point. We're going to get into what I liked this week while talking and sprinkling a little bit of what we just saw in Raw. So, one thing I really loved on Raw last week was Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez. I know I've been feeling a little bit concerned and a little bit discombobulated when it comes to Roxanne Perez being on Raw and NXT, and it felt like she just kept running back to NXT just to start mess with people because she just thinks NXT is just supposed to revolve around her. And a part of me just really felt like, girl, why don't you just go to the main roster and just stay there? It's like you've done everything you could possibly do in NXT. You won the NXT Women's title 2 times. You've been a tag team champion. You've been an Iron Survivor. You've done so much. Girl, go to the main roster and mix it up with those women. But I find that it's a little bit refreshing to see her kind of go back and forth between the two and to see her also um interweave NXT stuff with the Raw stuff is also really good too. So the match that she had with Rhea Ripley was really amazing. It was definitely like a difference of the two because you have the superimposing Rhea Ripley going up against Roxanne, who is relatively small, but she's very calculated, and she really did try to break Rhea Ripley down. But in the end, Rhea wound up winning the match. But either way, it was just, well, no, I think it came to a no contest, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, um, this match was pretty fantastic. Raw, since WrestleMania, has been putting on really amazing women's matches. Um, with Roxanne, with Rhea, with Io, with Stephanie Vacour, all of these women and mixing up Raw and NXT together. Like, it's been really fantastic to see. I've loved it, even with Stephanie and Ivy now, which I will get to. It's been really great to see on Raw. And then of course Io fought, oh my God. With Io fighting Roxanne tonight for a non-title match, that was really good. So, I mean, all the women's action that we're getting on Monday is really great. They're getting time to cook, they're getting time to build something, and it could be argued that maybe they're insinuating that something could be on the horizon for the women, but I just don't know. I just don't know. Like, I want to believe that maybe we're getting evolution too. And maybe this is sort of the precipice for that, but I just don't know. I won't know until they say something. So, but either way, this match was fantastic. I enjoyed it. It was really good. And then, of course, you have the rivalry, the red hot rivalry between the man Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, the women's intercontinental champion. Now, of course, last week they had their words, and Becky admitted that she was the one who attacked Bailey because she didn't want there to be like a whole who done it like it was with Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. She just outright admitted that she was the one who attacked her because she was still angry about having fought with Bailey for almost close to 7 to 10 years now. Even though they're part of the Four Horsewomen right there together, they have fought each other back and forth for years. And she just didn't like that Lyra was going to tag with her, so she attacked Bailey and inserted herself in the tag team picture at WrestleMania, where her and Lyra won the tag team titles only to lose them the next Monday against Liv and Raquel, which was crazy at the time, but now we understand where it's going. So, of course, Becky was upset. She was blaming Lyra for having lost the titles, but then Lyra was like, look, I am not the only one who is to blame here. You had no right to attack me. And of course, Becky feels like Lyra is just, under beneath her. And she challenged her for the women's IC title. And Lyra, to her credit, has really shown more of her personality on the mic because since she has held the women's intercontinental title, she hasn't had a lot of opportunities to really like shine on the microphone with a rivalry that's this fierce and this fiery and been given a lot of time. When it comes to Becky Lynch, however, she is a woman who is always going to advocate for girls getting their time. And that's something that I will always love and appreciate about her. So Lyra has soared, no pun intended, um, in this feud. And she roasted her on the mic tonight. Like, for everything that Becky had to say, Lyra had more to say to get her together. And I was just like, girl, this is the Lyra that I need forever. Forever. Lyra, girl, give us this fierceness all of the time. Now I know she was probably a little bit nervous, because it's the main roster and stuff, but still, when she stepped up to Becky Lynch and told her, "Look, you didn't make me. How dare you take credit for, making me in my life when I worked hard for this?" Come on. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I just cannot wait for their match on Saturday because it's going to be fire. Both Intercontinental Championships are on the line, and hers is on the line against Becky. And Lyra definitely has one up over Becky because she was the one who defeated Becky for the NXT Women's title 2 years ago. So she was just like, "Oh, you were the first to main event WrestleMania. You were the first to do this. You were the first to do that, but you weren't the first to hold the IC title." And I was just floored. I said, "Lyra, you got it. You got it, girl." So she ate down, and I just cannot wait for Saturday for their match at Backlash. And then you have Liv and Raquel, who are the tag champions still after defeating. Well, no. I think what I was going to discuss here was Liv and Raquel still being tag team champions while Liv is off making a movie. And tonight on Raw, when Raquel was back there in the clubhouse with the Judgment Day, she wasn't holding the tag titles. I think that's very interesting. That is a very interesting development there. Like, she was not holding her tag team title belt in the clubhouse because, of course, Liv is gone. She's filming a movie. But it's just, so is that what we're doing now? We're getting rid of the tag titles, or are we just not acknowledging the fact that they won the titles and they're still holding them and nobody's going to contend for them? What's going on with that? And a lot of people online during the news of the releases coming out were saying that they feel like with all the releases that the almost the entire mid-card um roster is gone and that there is no more tag division. And you could argue that it really might not be a tag division anymore. And if that's the case, then they really might have just written those tag team titles off with Liv being gone and with Raquel being on television but not holding her title belt even in Liv's absence. Which is such a shame because when those tag titles were created, they were created um at the pushing of Mercedes Moné and Bailey to have more opportunities for the women. And it was, and there were rumors that backstage they were given begrudgingly. And because that energy was given, that begrudging energy was given, it was almost like there wasn't a lot of effort put into them the same way that there would be efforts put into the men's tag division, which is another conversation for another day because there are a lot of people who feel like the men's tag divisions aren't that good or aren't that healthy, even though on SmackDown they just put on some clinics. But either way, it's just a big conversation to be had about the women's tag team titles and how for a long time they've been cursed. So it might be possible that even after a lot of good reigns that they may have had, that they still might have been cursed. And this might be another way too. And there's a whole nother history with the older women's tag titles that is a bit weird in and of itself. So it's almost like this feeds into it too. But oh my God, it's awkward. It just feels really awkward, especially given what happened tonight with Raquel being on TV. So you hate to see it, but I don't know. The tag titles really might be gone this time. So grand opening, grand closing, if that's the case. But I don't know. We just gotta wait and see, guys. But it's not looking good. It really isn't looking that good. Also, I really love the match between Stephanie Vaquer and Ivy Nile. The only thing I hated about this match was the fact that Chad Gable slash El Grande Americano was out there. Like, I always feel that men should stay out of women's business. And y'all know that. So for him to be out there was just absolutely annoying. And then on top of that, for him to be out there with Stephanie, who had such a great career in terms of her lucha background, was even more annoying. Like, white man, why are you here? Get out. This is none of your business. Even though I know him and Ivy Nile have their partnership with American Made and all that, I still just feel like he should just stay out of Ivy's business. Men should stay out of women's business. Please. Because this match ate down without his interference. And Stephanie won. So boom, let's go. And I just love how people are just gravitating towards Stephanie. And just she's just a star. She just is. And I'm just so happy that she's having a great moment. And I hope that her trajectory continues to soar, even with all the other AAA stuff that I won't get into tonight. But still, Stephanie Vaquer is that girl, and I'm happy. Even though it feels weird when she does wrestle on Raw and you don't have Booker T saying, ah, 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 yeah, but it's okay. I love it. It's fun. Now, when it comes to the men on Raw, however, Seth Rollins is wilding. He is absolutely wilding. From tonight, even from last week, He was absolutely wilding, and there's just something that I have to discuss. Seeing him pop up with these glasses, oh man, I clicked it away. I'm sorry. Um, Seeing him pop up with these glasses was one of the most hilarious things I had ever seen in my life because, sir, who do you think you are? It's like when he came out with them glasses on, if you can see the pictures if you're watching it live, those eyes in those glasses were definitely giving the Great Gatsby. And of course, if you know that story, you know that those were the eyes in the billboard that old dude was saying were the eyes of God that can see everything. So I really feel like that was kind of what Seth was giving off. He was giving off the impression that he was the new big bad um in WWE, as if he was like a otherworldly evil figure. And I'm just like, these, sir, you're crazy. And then he had on this beautiful robe that just ate all the way down too. And I'm just like, sir, what the heck are you doing? You are out here acting like you are just the king of everything. Like he's acting like an evil Roman Empire. And even an evil Roman Empire. It's just crazy. And then of course now he has Braun Breaker on his side, who's sort of like his attack dog in a sense, and then he has Paul Heyman. He is essentially becoming what Roman Reigns was, which means he's becoming everything he hated. And it's insane that he facilitated all of this behind CM Punk's back and Roman Reigns' back, in the sense that he was like, look, Paul Heyman, you're gonna owe me a favor. And now Paul Heyman is his wise man, and then you got Braun Breaker being his attack dog, the same way Jay Uso was sort of Roman Reigns' attack dog and his right hand man. It's the layers are crazy. The layers are absolutely crazy when you really think about it. But these are the pillars of evil now. They are the big bad. And then they tried to pull a okey doke on Jay Uso, but thank God Jay Uso has an army in the form of Sami Zayn, his brother, and in the form of CM Punk, who really just wants to destroy Seth and destroy Paul. So, hey, thank God Jay Uso is still the world heavyweight champion, because if he had lost tonight, I'm not sure I would have been able to come on here. I'm just not sure. It would not have been good. My attitude would not have been good at all. So I'm grateful for that. But these men here, they've been wild and out since Vegas. And oh, even Paul Heyman and his promo against Jay Uso tonight, like it was a crash out promo, but it was valid. But at the same time, Paul really needs to get it together. He needs to go see a therapist. He needs to see a therapist immediately and just get himself together. Just figure himself out, because, babe, whoo, it was nuts. Just, it was so nuts. It's like, for all of that loving of your tribal chief you were doing, you were really secretly harboring anger towards him because he came back for his Ulafala and not you. Oh my God. There is just so much to unpack. Oh my God. But it's crazy. I feel like I keep saying the same thing, but it is nuts. But we got to move on. It's just crazy. Oh, but I got to go back and mention something else. My dad, shout out to my dad. His birthday was yesterday. He turned 60. So shout out to him. He's the reason why this podcast even exists, because he introduced me to wrestling. He pointed out something during the backstage segment with Paul and Braun Breaker, as he was talking to him and feeding him, what the plan was and everything. He mentioned that it's crazy that Braun Breaker isn't seeking to go after the world heavyweight title himself. And that really like sparked something in me, because Braun Breaker was the one to defeat Jay Uso for that Intercontinental title, and we were all bummed out about it. We were all sad and stuff. But in this regime of WWE, it kind of felt at one point that if you had won the IC title, kind of like back in the day, that was a stepping off point for you to be WWE champion or world heavyweight champion. And for Braun Breaker to have won that title twice, But yet Seth Rollins feels like he can jump the line in front of him after not winning the IC title is pretty interesting stuff. So I was glad my dad sort of dropped that nugget in my ear. I was just like, huh, you're right. So yeah, there's so much layers to this, but we got to move on. Also, from last week's Raw, I loved that the New Day, even though it was highly unnecessary and highly problematic, they decided to throw shade on commentary at the War Raiders, saying that the reason why they basically saying that they're making the World Tag Team titles relevant again because when the War Raiders held the titles, they were barely defending. And I was like, Jesus help. Then they wanted to throw shade at Big E some more because of his hurt neck. And I was just like, y'all are really working on going to hell with gasoline draws on, ain't you? They really are. And it's just so sad. Like, I don't know. There's a part of me that's really hoping that somehow or another Biggie does get cleared and just teaches them a lesson and then they can just group hug and forgive each other to just heal the land. But I don't know, man. They might be really too far gone at this point. They cheated to win those tag team titles in the first place, and I know because I saw it firsthand. Um, and it's just they're just walking around here just with the big head, and they're just walking around looking like celebrity F boys at this point with the clothes that they wear and all that, and they're just so mean now, and it's just so hard because I've loved them for so long, and now I have to like hate them, and it's just Jesus help. I hate it so much, but I don't know. Hopefully they'll get some form of comeuppance, but you know. I want it to be in the form of Biggie, but there's just no telling when that could ever happen. So, oh, you hate to see it, but they were being mad petty on commentary. And honestly, they're really good on commentary, but it just hurt to kind of hear them be so petty. But, it is what it is. Now, on this part of Raw, we got this really passionate promo from Pat McAfee, who, of course, um, got attacked by Gunther after coming to the aid of Michael Cole. Michael Cole was getting jumped by Gunther simply because he told the truth about him tapping out to Jey Uso at WrestleMania. And Gunther wanted to be all up in his feelings. And I'm just like, bro, the truth is the truth, babe. You tapped out. And as a journalist, and also as Michael Cole, who's a respected journalist for over 30 years, he gonna call it down the middle. Of course, aside from that one time in the 2010s where he decided to be very biased, but we're gonna look past that. Um, he was just telling the truth, and then Gunther decided to bully him, and because Pat McAfee was being a real dude, um, and a real friend, he stood up to him, and then Gunther attacked him, and Pat said, "Look, I don't like that you was coming after this man and coming after my friend, and I'm loyal to the soil to him because he's loyal to the soil to me. So if you want to fight, let's go." Now that's paraphrasing, but still, you get the point. And I know a lot of people felt weird about it because, from a pure wrestling perspective, a lot of people were like, "Bro, why is Gunther picking a fight with the commentators? And more specifically, why is he fighting with Pat McAfee?" And I know that here lately, WWE has not had the best public relations um reputation out here since WrestleMania and a little bit after that. And Pat has had his moments, especially when he was telling Raquel um a few weeks ago to speak English because he couldn't understand, and that could definitely be and that is an offensive thing to say to a person who is speaking another language to you. I mean, yeah, I understand you might not understand Spanish, but to say, "Oh, well, speak English," and da 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 da, no, that's rude. You don't just say stuff like that. But at the same time, Pat was very passionate in what he had to say, and he's been very passionate about wrestling for a long time. And we also can't sit here and pretend that he did not have, a great match or good matches in NXT, and also that one good match he had um in WrestleMania in Dallas. So I don't outwardly hate the fact that him and Gunther are fighting at Backlash the way that a lot of people do, but I do understand people's frustrations with Pat McAfee in the sense that he can say some crazy and problematic things that rub people the wrong way. And they have rubbed me the wrong way at times too. But I don't outwardly hate the fact that Gunther is fighting Pat McAfee, and I don't feel like it's a waste of Gunther's time or whatever. I think ultimately maybe people felt like Gunther should have just went after Jay Uso again to just do a rematch because in the traditional sense that would mean a backlash situation, but they're going a different route, and I'm not too angry. I'm not angry about that at all because Pat McAfee, he's entertaining, but at the same time, I understand other people's viewpoint on him. So I completely understand it, but I'm not angry about the match happening either. So this is where we're at. Gunther versus Pat McAfee Saturday. Then on top of that, you had Gunther getting real personal with him and bringing up his baby daughter. And I'm just sitting here like, why would you bring up Pat McAfee's daughter? And I'm pretty sure if somebody brought up your baby, you would be mad. So why are you doing that to other people so much? Like Gunther is just so bad. Like he is so savage. Um, but then I also loved how Pat McAfee mentioned him being named Walter in his promo, waltering around, and then the people in the crowd in Omaha caught it, and I was just like, yes. So it was brilliant. Pat McAfee is really good on the microphone, but I do understand people's feelings about him. But I'm just not angry that this match is happening. I'm just not. So maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but I have to speak my truth, and that's just where I'm at. So don't kill me, please. Um, so yeah, so we move into NXT from last week. Sol Ruka is, of course, the new women's North American champion, and I love that for her. And she's also the women's speed champion too. So big ups to a black girl with two belts. I love it. And her and Carmen Petrovich had an amazing matchup on Tuesday in which, Sol wound up winning and Zarya was celebrating with her. But I just can't help but feel like Zarya is going to attack her at some point. It's going to break my heart because her and Zarya are such a cute pair. So I would hate for them to break up. But the thing that I loved the most about this was that you saw Carmen Petrovich stand up for herself against Ashanti the Adonis. Now, of course, we saw their love story happen, over the course of a couple of months. We saw them resisting each other. We saw Ashanti flirting with other girls. We saw him have the come to Jesus moment when he realized he just only wanted one girl, and it was Carmen. Carmen kissed him, and they were cute for a little while. But then somewhere down the line, they started having more arguments backstage and stuff. And it was just kind of like, they're breaking up already? It felt like we really didn't have that long with them as a couple. I liked Carshante. I named them Carshante. I love relationship names. I just do. I'm just corny like that. So to see Carshante in the way like the way it did, it kind of bummed me out. But then I didn't blame her for kicking him in the face because he was doing absolutely too much. Because how you gonna tell her how to fight and how to win matches when you haven't fought in a match in a good little while? Stop. Like you can't do that. Like that was rude, Ashanti. So you earned that kick in the face. And if you guys are done, then I guess you guys are done. But for the little bit that we had them, Carshante was cute. So grand opening, grand closing. Sad face. But I'm a romantic, but hey, when you're a woman, you gotta stand up for yourself in this world. And don't let no man run you over and try to tell you what to do like that. And if all else fails, kick him in his jaw. So, well, I'm not kicking people in their jaw. I'm sorry. I'm not doing that. But if a man talks to me crazy, it's up. Just know. But either way, Carmen, power to the woman. Absolutely. And then of course you had the tag team match between Io Sky, the women's world champion, tagging with Jordan Grace against Roxanne and Julia. here again, this is a moment where you really felt like it could have been Roxanne and Cora Jade, but stuff happens in life. Um, this match was really good, and I just really love this picture of watching Io hit this drop kick on them. It was just really amazing, and it was just nice seeing Io have that triumphant moment back in NXT where we got to know her and got to love her for so long. So it was just really good. I enjoyed the tag team match. And then in the midst of this, afterward, because this was the main event, we found out from Ava when Stephanie, the NXT Women's Champion, went to her office. Ava said that her next opponent is going to be whoever wins the number one contenders match between Julia and Jordan Grace. And the thing that I love about Stephanie is the fact that she is a fighting champion and she is always willingly looking for opponents. It's not always the opponents having to find her. She is seeking them out. And I like that. I really like that a lot from her. And she's just a star. And I just love her for obvious reasons, but still, I love her for her wrestling abilities and her gorgeousness for sure. But definitely loving her for our name. It's an extra bonus in there. You gotta love it. So yeah, it's cool. The women's division in NXT just never misses. It never misses. It never has missed, and it never will miss. Just putting it out there. Oh, and let me just say, I'm still waiting on that NXT WoW crossover. Make it happen. Make it happen, please. Give my WoW girls a chance to mix it up with the NXT girls or the TNA girls. That would just be amazing. So, yeah. Moving with the men in NXT, say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry, the TNA World Champion, popped up on an episode. And the thing that I loved about the segment with the way the episode started, it started showing Vic Joseph, Corey Graves, and Booker T on commentary. And they were talking about Joe Hendry getting attacked by Trick Williams in TNA. And so in the midst of them saying Joe Hendry's name, the song comes on, say his name, and he appears. And Vic Joseph gets super excited. And him and Corey Graves were like, oh my God, it worked! It worked! And I was just like, they just like me for real. They are just like me for real. Cause if I had said his name and it worked, I would have lost my mind too. And I have been seeing a lot of TikToks of people who were at WrestleMania who were waiting for Randy Orton's surprise opponent and they actually said Joe Hendry's name and he actually appeared and they were freaking out. Like that was one of the best parts, if not the best part of WrestleMania for me because I love Joe Hendry. Like he's a fantastic wrestler, but it's just the principle of the fact that his song just has so much joy and pep in it, and it makes you want to sing along and just interact with everyone. It's just so fun. And just getting to do that at WrestleMania and just seeing him as a TNA champion get to be at WrestleMania, you just can't write a better story than that. Then he popped up at Royal Rumble a few months before. Like, that's just the coolest thing ever. Like, he really is just popping off and having a stellar year. So I love Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. And, you know, I just. I just love having him show up whenever he just decides to show up. But I am afraid for him because he got jumped by Dark State when he called out Trick Williams, which low key feeds into the notion of is Trick Williams really in charge of Dark State on the low? Or they're just going around just attacking people just for the sake of doing it. And it really feels like they're just doing it for the devilment. So yeah, Dark State is crazy. They're a bunch of crash outs and they're crazy. But I'm also afraid that Trick Williams really might take away the TNA title. Like, oh my God, help. But, let's move on. The ending of Metaphor. Oh, that hurts so bad. Before, of course, news got out about the releases of Oro Mensah and Jakara Jackson, it still hurt to see them break up because Noam Dar had just got back from his injury. He had been gone for a long time. And so for him to come back and then win back his Heritage Cup that he loved so much, only for Metaphor, like for to finally be reunited and then they're breaking up. It's just kind of like, what do you mean? It's almost like the greatest factions that we endeared ourselves to during the NXT 2.0 era are just all just disappearing. With the exception of Chase U, that's actually coming back and I'm glad. But the fact that Metaphor is no longer a thing just hurts my heart. Cuz I can't tell you, even though they were a heel faction, how many times I enjoyed watching them in their different costumes and their outfits, like when they were dressed up like the Matrix or when they were dressed up like um Mystery Inc. with Scooby Doo and them. Like they just put in a level of effort that was just so different and so fresh. And so the idea that we don't have them anymore is just really heartbreaking. Like we really only have Noam Dar and Lash Legend. And in terms of NXT. And Lash Legend is going to be a star, no doubt. But I felt like those two women not being women's tag team champions was just a robbery. That was what my grandma would call highway robbery without a gun. That was straight robbery. And I don't think I'll really ever get past it. That was just so painful. But I know that they're going to continue to do great things. But my God, it hurt so bad. It hurt real bad. Whew, Lord. But we press on, Jesus. And speaking of pressing on, you got Obafemi out here. He was having an interview backstage, but then it gets interrupted by Mr. Undertaker, who decides to have a moment with Oba, like the one he had before, where he's telling him, like, look, I told you that this was your yard. But just know that there is a target on you, and there are other people who are hungry for that opportunity. And guess who popped up? Some of the boys from LFG, Shallow Hill, Anthony Luke, and Jasper Troy. This made me pop because me and my boyfriend have been watching LFG. And I was really happy to actually see them or see some of them at WrestleMania at WWE World. It was really cool to see them and their growth as superstars and see them being, molded with their different teams and stuff like that. And so the fact that they had this moment where they were just staring at Oba Femi like, yeah, we're next up. Watch out, boo. Like it was really cool. It was really cool. So I was like, uh-oh, LFG, you got your legends and your future greats. That was cool. So yeah, it's getting serious up in here. Oba, keep your head on a swivel. I know you are the ruler, but even some rulers have to be knocked off their throne a little bit. So watch out. Now, just to move into to move into TNA type of stuff, there was a lot of stuff I liked from TNA. Um, I am purposely trying to watch more TNA, not even just because of their alliance with NXT, but also because watching TNA makes me feel a little bit closer to Nikki Bougie because that was the brand that she repped so hard. And I want to watch them a bit more and get more into what they've got going on. And hopefully I'll make it to a show at some point. But someone who I really liked watching in terms of being a powerhouse, Savannah Evans, is actually no longer with TNA. And she announced it on her Instagram, and that bummed me out a little bit, but I'm pretty sure she'll always do great things because really the first time I saw her wrestle was actually in person at a Battle Club Pro show. Shout out to Battle Club Pro in New York. I love y'all all the way down. I got to come see y'all. But, I saw her fight in a battle royal, and she was just so impressive and just so like, yo, like, who are you? And why would I let you pick me up? She looked so amazing. So I'm pretty sure wherever she lands, it'll be amazing. Um, I always felt like she could have been a knockouts champion at some point, but I guess stuff happens. But either way, I can't wait to see what she does next because she's such a beautiful woman and she's just a powerhouse. So I can't wait to see what she does next. Also, you have Indy Hartwell officially signing on to be a TNA knockout. And she did cut a promo after, she made her debut on the show, and she said that she doesn't want to be just another woman on the roster, which is absolutely valid because even though Indy was an NXT Women's Champion, it kind of felt like once she got drafted up to the main roster, there wasn't much they were doing with her outside of tag team work when she was with Candice LeRae. And I honestly felt that she was somebody who could have benefited from not turning heel alongside Candice LeRae. Like when it came to the introduction of the mid card titles, not even just that, but also just her as a character as a whole. Like I wanted her to strike out on her own and be her own woman when Candice LeRae were doing all those dirty tactics. I wanted her to be her own babyface, and I felt like she really could have grown from that. But somehow or another, they just had her turn heel with Candice, and they were a heel tag team, and nothing much truly came from it anymore. And months passed, and then she wound up getting released. So Andy had been fighting in the Indies, and I believe she even fought with Mercedes Monet at one point. And, just her getting more opportunities like that will only help her grow her brand stronger. And her being in TNA as a knockout will definitely help with that too. So big ups to Indy Hartwell for being a knockout now. It's really great. And I'm hoping that she'll be impressive. So yeah. So that was cool. And then, of course, we had the debut of Victoria Crawford, who, of course, was formerly known as Alicia Fox in WWE. She made her debut as a deputy officer in TNA, and she's going to be in action on this Thursday. But she's also challenged Masha Slamovich for the Knockouts title. And this is so crazy for me because I low-key feel like Alicia Fox basically helped raise me to a degree. So the idea that now is like I'm 31 years old and I'm still watching her um be an awesome wrestler. It's just like really it's amazing. Under her real name no less. Like you can't you just can't beat stuff like that. And TNA just seems like the perfect place for that to happen. And who even knows? Maybe at some point she could cross over to NXT. Like that would be cool too. So I don't know, but the sky is the limit, and I just can't wait to see what she has to offer because Miss Ma'am is very underrated in terms of her wrestling skills. Her character work was always on 10, and she just deserves more credit. So I'm just glad that she's out here. And then you got Trick Williams attacking Joe Hendry in his territory. And then when Joe called him out, he wanted to pop up on the screen and act like he was too good to be on TNA because, oh, well, I'm in Hollywood now and I'm guest starring on All American, so I don't have time for you. Trick, baby, stop. Stop it. Like him acting like he's that big time is just really crazy for me because I'm just like, you're really spiraling out of control. One minute you want to act like you're better than everybody because you have this acting role, then the next minute you want to act like you're desperate for gold because you don't have because you want your NXT title back, and then on top of that you're attacking Joe Hendry because you might want to take the TNA title. Like, sweetie, you're first at the window and you're then at the door. You've got to relax and focus on one goal. It just seems like he's just focused on three different goals, and I just really need him to lock in, like his theme song, and just focus on one thing. But maybe he's just on his Kendrick Lamar stuff. Like he feels like he deserves it all, and it just sucks. But either way, bruh, him attacking Joe Hendry, my other fave, just hurt my feelings. But I don't know. I don't know, Trick. I just need you to stop crashing out. I just need you to find yourself again. But we'll see what happens from there. Now, moving into the SmackDown for the women, this past Friday was pretty lit when it came to the girls. Tiffany Stratton, the WWE Women's Champion, definitely stood her own. against Nia Jax, who of course attacked her from behind the week before and was like, "Look, I want my title back and everything." But Tiffany was like, "Look, I'm not that same girl you used to bully. Like, I am the champion. I beat Charlotte and I beat you, and I will do it again." And I was just like, "Girl, Tiffany, you better grow up into those big Tiffy britches and be the star that you know that you can be, like full on." I really love it. Like, I want her, even though I felt a little bit iffy about her being a babyface because we had known her as the heel, um, popular girl type of thing for so long. I just really feel like she sort of found herself here. So I thought this was really great, and I feel like now that she's conquered Charlotte, that maybe, her confidence is a little bit higher now. So yeah, I was proud of Tiffany here. It was really cool. But then, of course, she had more company in the form of Naomi, who is out here just trying to take every piece of revenge that she can. She wants to destroy Jade. She wants to get revenge on Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax for making her life a living hell when she kept trying to go after the women's championship, but yet Tiffany was always helping Nia. She caught that tea, and I appreciated that because that was really tough on us Naomi fans because we have been wanting her to win singles gold since she got back to WWE because we saw her be the face of TNA, as Trinity, as the Knockouts champion for so long. And then for her to come to WWE and just get screwed out of opportunity after opportunity, it just sucked. So I'm glad that this version of Naomi, who's, crashing out, is trying to get her receipts back. She's trying to get it back in blood. And I appreciate that. And not only did she get it back in blood, she told a fan to shut up. I was like, girl, I love it. Crash Out Naomi might be one of my favorites. And I'm usually not a heel girl at all, but Miss Ma'am, she is killing this role. She's killing it. Her caution tape outfits slay, her hair slays, her makeup slays all the time. Like, she literally just looks unhinged. Like you just don't want to bother her. Like, that's the girl that you leave on the street somewhere. Like, leave her alone. So yeah. Yeah. I like it. I love it so much. But then, of course, moving forward, with more women's action, I haven't had a chance to say this on my show, but I am so happy that Zelina Vega is Women's United States champion. I really am. Because when I tell you, I have been loving her all the way down since NXT. Because that was where I first saw her. I know she had a career in TNA as well as a knockout, but I first saw her in NXT as Andrade's manager. And just seeing her rise from being the manager that would get involved and actually hit her Karanas on his opponents and holding on to championships for him on the main roster and being his mouthpiece and then standing up for herself saying that she can't argue with him and Angel Garza anymore, to being her own woman, and then of course everything that happened where she, left and then she wound up coming back, and how I was screaming for her in my best friend's car and she had no clue what was going on. And just her being back and just growing more into herself from being a villain to a face and now fighting super hard from being a tag team champion to being queen of the first ever queen of the ring and now being a singles champion. Oh, it felt so, I felt a sense of satisfaction in knowing that someone I've loved and invested in for so long finally won something that definitely belongs to her. I was so thrilled. I was screaming. I was sobbing when she won. There is just nothing at this point that could make me any happier than her being women's United States champion. And Chelsea Green, I love Chelsea all the way down, and it's so funny to watch her mourn not being champion anymore. But if it gives Zelina Vega a level of happiness and accomplishment in her career, then I'll deal with it because Zelina deserves it. She deserves all of her wrestling dreams to come true, especially after everything she's gone through in her life. And I loved seeing the piece that WWE posted about her bringing the title to Ground Zero to her father. Like that hit me dead in my feels. And I know that Mr. Trinidad is proud of her because that was their dream. And she made it. She won that title for him. And she deserves to be the women's champion of the United States. So, Zelina, I love you so much. And I'm so happy. If you see this clip, know that I am so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I hope you stay champion forever, even though I know that's impossible, but I want you to stay champion forever. So yeah. Um, yeah. I'm so happy. And then of course her match against Piper Niven was pretty amazing too. Like they are just soulmates for some reason. Because even with her being queen of the ring, like Piper is who she defeated to become queen of the ring. So every time they fight each other, there's just a sense of satisfaction I get that, just seeing them lock up with each other. And Zelina won, so that was just really cool. And Chelsea and her mourning is just hilarious to me. She's just I wish she could be our president instead. Oh God. Chelsea for president. Chelsea 2028. Please save us. Save us. So yeah. Then of course you also had Jade um having to be in a tag team match with Tiffany against Nia Jackson Naomi. And when they won their match, Jade got the title to give to Tiffany, but she was acting like she didn't want to let that thing go. And I was like, "Ooh, oh, here we are." And I love that because the first article I ever wrote for Daily DDT was about three big feuds that Jade Cargill could have because around the time I started writing for them was when Jade signed to WWE. And in my mind, I was just like, bro, who are the three people that she could feud with that I know would be huge? And one of them was Tiffany Stratton. And I just didn't think it would happen this soon where she would actually want to go for a title. I did not think it would happen this soon, but I'm not mad about it either. So if she wants to go for that women's championship, then hey, go ahead and do it, black woman. And then I love the fact that her and Tiffany won their tag team match in the main event of SmackDown, no less. And then all the while, there was a thunderstorm going on here in Birmingham. There was a legit storm happening while the storm was in victory in a tag team match. You can't write a better story than that. Jade Cargill, I love you down and I just want you to be successful and win all the things. Also, I want to know what your budget is for the hair because because the amount of it's like you have different lengths every week and I just love it so much. So, girl, yes, you are our storm and we love you. I love you category 5. But then you had Naomi jump her from behind and she's holding the title herself too. So, this title picture is getting quite crowded because you got Nia who wants her lick back against Tiffany. You got Jade who's the new upstart who wants to win some singles gold. And then you got Naomi who just wants to destroy everybody and hold gold herself too as the veteran. So we're living in the land of the riches when it comes to stuff like this. I love it. I love it so much. Now, when it comes to the men on SmackDown, the best match that popped off to me was Ray Phoenix versus Santos Escobar. It reminded me of the back in the day SmackDown when they would have a lot of their cruiserweights come out and fight. Like this is kind of what this felt like, even though I know Santos isn't really a cruiserweight. He's kind of like a hybrid, but still, um, I enjoyed watching them fight each other, and I just love watching Ray Phoenix wrestle. Like, I just really enjoyed watching these two go at it the way that they did on SmackDown. Like, they are two people who I would like to see like in a best of seven just to see who will come out on top in that. So I really enjoyed it. And I also loved watching the segment that they made about the TLC tag team match for the titles between DIY, the Street Profits, and the Motor City Machine Guns. Um, I know I didn't get to talk about it, but I enjoyed that match so much. And you could argue that that match definitely deserved to be on the WrestleMania card. But to get that good of a match when we got so many other good matches, I felt like I was spoiled that whole week. So even though it wasn't on Mania, I'm still happy that the match happened on the SmackDown too. Cause come on, it was good. So and then Street Profits retained, so that was cool too. But you know, it was great. And then also this weekend, um, I got to spend time with dad, and one of the things that we did was watch AEW Collision together. So to start the episode, I loved that it was the women's world championship eliminator match between Timeless Tony Storm and Lady Frost. Lady Frost was someone I saw for the first time at NWA's Empower. Here again, back to that event. Um, and she was somebody who I always loved as a wrestler because she just combined so much athleticism and so much gymnastic skills with her fighting. Like, I feel like a match between her and Tiffany Stratton would heal my soul. It just would. And the match she had with Timeless Tony Storm was pretty hard hitting and pretty amazing and impressive, and I loved it. But of course, Timeless Tony Storm won, and she cuts this sick promo where she's going outside on the pier in Atlantic City, New Jersey, saying, you know, I am here and I am queer and I am always timeless. And Timeless Tony Storm is honestly one of the greatest things to ever happen in women's wrestling. She just is. And I'm just so happy that she locked in with this character. And I'm also happy that she locked in to a degree when she was in Queen of the Ring, because that was the whole vibe she gave. Even though she didn't really speak a lot in that film, that's the vibe she gave. So I just Tony, never change, girl, please. But this match was fantastic, and if you had not watched it, I do recommend it. It was really good. It was really, really good. Also, another great match that happened on Collision was Megan Bayne versus Harley Cameron. And I know Megan Bayne is the Megasis, and she's just this beautiful big woman who will just knock you the F out. Harley Cameron really has been popping off in her matches, and it seems like she really has been improving a lot of her skills, and she's very hungry, you know, for the right opportunity. Harley impressed me so much in this match. Like, it was a while once the match got started where I really felt like Megan Bayne wasn't even going to get a chance to get the upper hand on Harley, because Harley just kept hitting her, kept kicking her and all this stuff, and I'm just like, bro, feel the wrath indeed. Harley, you're really doing it. But of course, Megan wound up winning. But then her and Penelope Ford was attacking Harley afterward, and then Anna Jay comes out with this plank of wood and she hits her in the back. But then Megan Bayne kind of just turned around like, "Girl, you really hit me in the back with that," and it didn't affect her at all. And I was just like, "Lord have mercy, this is nuts." But I just really enjoyed this match, and Harley Cameron makes me laugh all the time, basically the same way Timeless Tony Storm does, just in a different way. But I just love seeing Harley just sort of step up her game when it comes to her wrestling stuff. And I can't wait to see more of what she does in the future. So that was great. And also, let me just say, AR Fox and Kevin Knight impressed the crap out of me in that fatal four way for that money. And I feel like AR Fox should have won. Point blank, period. AR Fox should have won. I don't know what Samuel Guevara really could have done with that money that he already doesn't have. Like, y'all could have let AR win because he ate all the way down in that match. He really did. So, I don't know. But I just wanted to just get on this platform and say that these two men really threw down in that match. Um, and yeah, AR Fox should have won. And that's just the end of that. So, that's pretty much all I enjoyed in wrestling this week. So, I, of course, have been moving through life and just moving through wrestling. And I feel like, oh, there's a lot of comments here that I can't see on my screen or can't really pull up because the buttons are just weird. And I'm so sorry. So, if you are commenting, thank you, but I will read them later. But yeah, um, this has been a pretty funny, I mean, interesting, funny, but not haha funny time for me because in the midst of all this crazy stuff happening in wrestling and me sort of figuring out how to maintain and work hard and all of the above, I'm still processing um a major loss. And it's just, and I'll actually let the video speak for itself because I haven't really had a chance to address it on my show. But
What it is. When you are so set on the end goal, you don't even appreciate the journey. You don't even appreciate the things that you're going through. You don't even appreciate the good times that you're having. You're so focused. That's why it took me so long to graduate college, because I wanted to experience everything. I wanted to live my life how I want to live my life. And I think when people start to do that, it changes the landscape of what you're focused on, but don't always focus on the end goal. Enjoy what's what's happening. Enjoy these good moments. Enjoy being with your family and friends and accepting those offers and saying congratulations and being yes, but also giving that to other people.
right. So I wanted to share a little bit of that because that was the interview that I got to have with my sister in wrestling media, my former senior writer and fellow host, Nikki Bougie. She was such a force in my life as a creator, and she was such a great encourager to me. And she passed away last month. And having to navigate all of that while also navigating everything else has just been a weird time. But I just wanted to come on here and pay tribute to her in my way on my show because her passion was just out of this world for wrestling. Whether it was Impact or people that she loved in WWE, she loved hard, she loved for real. And if supported you, she supported you all the way down. And to lose someone like her really does hurt in this space because there are times where it can get really hard to be in the wrestling content creator space because there's always so much negativity, so much arguing, so much, craziness going on. But at the root of it, that which is something that really needs to be embraced more, it's just the relationships that you gain from being a part of the wrestling community, in loving each other, encouraging each other, and respecting each other's differences, yes, but acknowledging people's differences and respecting them while also still at the same time loving them and letting them know that there is still a place for them. And I'm so grateful that I had Nikki to tell me a lot of the time that my voice was needed and that my space and that um I really needed to take the time to just enjoy the journey because if you know me for real, you know that I make a lot of goals in my mind and I try to reach them really quickly and I want everything and I want it now. But she was one of those people who really just had to tell me, like, look, you really have to slow down and focus on the journey and be okay with the idea that maybe you might not get everything all at once, but still know that every experience you have is valid. And I'm going to take that with me in everything that I do. So I am just so grateful that I got to spend time with her, um, be on her shows. I'm so honored that her and Dreon Santana gave me an invitation to the Shakers Den. I'm so glad that they felt like I was cool enough to be in their space, um, and still cool enough now. And I just hope that, she's always watching and always encouraging, but also being as free and as crazy and as wild of a spirit as she deserves to be in the new life. So I just wanted to pay tribute to her in that way. Um, I love you so much, Nikki Bougie. You were and are an icon, and I miss you dearly. And I'll see you on the other side. I will see you again. We'll see each other again, sister, and we will eat dinner like we were supposed to. So, yeah, I love you, Nikki. So, of course, if you have not already, go to the Shakers Den channel and watch the birthday tribute that Dreon Santana created and cultivated and put her foot in. Please continue to like lift her up and show love to her. Because putting this show together was not the easiest thing for her to do because her and Nikki were so close. And I was so happy that we were able to gather together on Nikki's birthday, which was yesterday. So if you have not gone to the Shakers Den channel, please check out the tribute. It was amazing to be a part of. It was amazing to hear the stories that other people had from spending time with her and everything. So please check that out. And I was honored to be a part of it. So please, 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 please go watch it. If you did not watch it yesterday, because it is definitely worth your time and getting to know Nikki, um, and who she was and how she touched the lives of others. Also, please check out my show, Steph and Cat Talk Wow with In Cat We Trust, as we talk about the ins and outs of Wow Women of Wrestling superheroes. So we do have our post show about that. I know we're not the only show that's out there, but we have been doing the show for a long time, and we've also done interviews with a number of the WoW superheroes from the past and present. So please check those out on both of our YouTube channels when you get a chance. And just continue to support us in our wrestling careers. And please give WoW Superheroes a chance. I know there was a lot of discourse online about women's wrestling in light of all the releases that happened. Um, and a lot of people were saying, oh, well, somebody just needs to start a serious all women's, promotion. There is one, and it's called WoW Superheroes. Give it a chance. And once you give it a chance and figure out where it comes on for you, watch our post show. Give it a chance because it's great. It's a really great show. I know the characters might be a little bit different from what you're used to, but the wrestling is still very much solid. So please give it a try. And when you do give it a try, we'll be here with our show. Steph and Cat Talk Wow. Tune in. And also, if you're looking for someone to book for an event, for like a panel for a convention, or if you're looking for a color commentator, a writer, or a podcast host to have on your show, you can email me at hardywrestlingpodcast@gmail.com. DM me at Queen Steph Hardy on Instagram and Twitter. And just, we can work out rates and all of the above, and I will be at your thing. I will try my best to be at your thing. I do travel. So please let me know if you want me to be a part of whatever it is you have going on. On this flyer, you see all the places that I have worked with, even though I do need to update it. But still, I come very experienced. So, and I am looking to expand more. So please book your girl, book your girl, book your girl. And of course, read all of my articles on Daily DDT. My most recent pieces were the 5 greatest matches in WrestleMania history, as well as my night one grades for WrestleMania 41. It was such a great challenge to write an article for an event that was happening in real time, but I'm happy that I got to accomplish that. So please check that out as well. Please check out all of my writings. And here again, thank you to Rafael Garcia for giving me the opportunity to write for an amazing publication like Daily DDT. Um, I'm very honored to do that. Even though I know I'm a new writer, I'm still figuring it out. And finally, your girl is going for a graduate certificate in the course of modern journalism from New York University and Rolling Stone. So, if you might not see me for a minute, it's because I'm also ducked off with my full time job and I'm starting a class in modern journalism because I want to sharpen my craft. Because when I started this podcast and when I started writing, I was doing it on the fly and just trying my best. I have not really trained in communications classes. I've only taken journalism in high school and I took 2 communications classes in college. And yeah, I really just started everything without any formal training. So hopefully this can be the door that might open to a master's degree. Who knows? But either way, I'm learning new things and I'm just very excited about it. So please pray my strength. And it's gonna be cool. So yeah, this is all. That's all tonight. So thank all of you for watching live. And of course, if you want to watch this later, you can go watch it on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast YouTube page. You can go like, share, and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. So please, 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 please get those subscriber numbers up so I can get up to there. You can listen to this show on audio on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, I think, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And also just continue to follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow the Hardy Wrestling Podcast on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. Um, you can also follow the Facebook page, which is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the same logo up here on it, except it's listed as 5 years because this is my 5th year of doing this show and I hope to continue for as long as I possibly can. So, yeah, we're doing great things over here, and I hope that you just continue to support it. So, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with your girl, Stephanie Hardy. And until next time, love on each other, please be safe, and just continue to be the light in your community. Bye, y'all.